Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 26.2 Beta 3. iOS 26.2 Beta 3 is available to developers, and hopefully by the time you're watching this video, or at the latest tomorrow, we get iOS 26.2 Public Beta 3. Last time there was no Public Beta 2, so hopefully we get it soon. Now this came in at 2.38 gigabytes on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, was about the same size on the other devices here, where Apple also released iPadOS 26.2 Beta 3, macOS 26.2 Beta 3, along with tvOS and HomePodOS 26.2 Beta 3, and watchOS 26.2 Beta 3. There was no visionOS 26.2 Beta 3 just yet. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go into Settings, we'll go down to General, then About. And as you can see, the build number is 23C5044B. So this particular update's getting closer to a final release. We'll talk more about when to expect that a little bit later in the video. And along with this, we did get a new modem update on some iPhones, the iPhone 17 models along with the iPhone Air, and then iPhone 13 models along with the iPhone SE3 all seem to get a modem update. None of the other devices did, so hopefully if you were having issues with overall cellular connectivity, let me know if this resolved it in the comments below. When it comes to new features, Apple added a new feature within Settings. If we go into Settings, then we go to General and then AIrDrop, scroll to the bottom, you'll see that it now says Manage Known AIrDrop Contacts. It says you will automatically appear for 30 days to people you have shared a one-time code with. Now the odd thing here is if we go into this, there is no way to share a code. Not that I've found just yet, and I haven't heard from any of you saying that you could share a code as well. So if we go into it, it brings us into the Contacts app. So you'll see we have Contacts, and all it did was bring me into the Other Known section of the Contacts app. So again, I tried to share this, tried a couple different things. There was no way to share a one-time code, but if you've figured that out yet, let me know, but it seems like this is a work in progress at this point. If we go into the News app, originally I thought more options here at the top since they updated the News app with the previous couple of betas, but some people are saying that at the bottom, they no longer have the audio button. I'm seeing this without an issue, but some people are not seeing it at all. So let me know if you see it or if it's disappeared for you. If we press and hold on our home screen and go to Edit, it looks like the animations for Liquid Glass have been updated to be a little bit smoother in Beta 3. So you can see how it pops out like this. And again, it's the same throughout different applications. So if we go to the menu here in Photos, it pops out and you'll see it's nice and smooth and just looks great overall. So it looks like they've just updated this a little bit as they continue to refine Liquid Glass. They've also updated this with the Measure app. Now, last time around when we're using the level, they changed it so we have this nice liquid glass with refraction and sort of a liquid glass look as it goes over the top. However, they've made a change now, so if I bring it more vertical and go over the top of a number, it doesn't warp as much as it did before. And if we press and hold here and go into maybe a screenshot, you can see it here. And if we go on to Beta 2 and do the same thing, again, side by side, you'll see that you can actually see the number where before it was just difficult to read. So they've made that improvement, but we still have that new liquid glass look. So I think that's pretty nice. If I go into Messages, you'll see that we have RCS. Now with iOS 26.2, we're supposed to have an encrypted version of RCS. But if we go into the app settings for Messages here and we scroll down, so far I haven't seen anything for that. So if I continue to scroll, you'll see that we have the option for RCS, but if we go into it, again, it's the same option. So hopefully we'll see that encrypted soon where we see the encryption option as well, whether or not we want to use that. But again, carriers will have to support it as well. There were also a couple of splash screens that popped up. The first time I opened Reminders again in Beta 3, it now has a different splash screen that says Allow Alarms for Urgent Reminders. To get alarms for reminders you mark as urgent, allow reminders to schedule alarms. Urgent reminders will activate an alarm even when your device is silenced or a focus is on. So it's just giving more details, and if we tap Continue, we can allow it. Press the plus button here and you'll see we have the urgent switch. They changed this to a switch here separate from Time where they had it included in Time with earlier betas. Also, if we go into Apple TV, there was a new splash screen as well where it says Apple TV Plus is now simply Apple TV. Watch all the same Apple originals and live sports you love. So again, a small change there. Also within the Games app, there was another new splash screen as well, talking about filtering your library, controller support, and track challenge scores. So that's been updated and it's available now in Beta 3. There was also a new little pop-up in Wallet, but this could be available to everyone. If we go into the Wallet, You'll see at the top where it says Earn Daily Cash all season long, unwrap unlimited daily cash when you use Apple Card with Apple Pay. So again, it's just additional information about that, something we've had all along, but just letting me know more information. Now, as far as the wallpaper today, the wallpaper is from Artemis Prime. So we'll have some new wallpaper packs coming soon, but I've shared this in the description below as I always do, so be sure to check it out if you want that as well. Apple also released a new wallpaper today, specifically for the new store they're opening up in Beijing. You'll see it says, "Let's make dreams together, Apple Beijing Gathering, grand opening 10 a.m. on December 6th. If we go to download wallpapers, you'll see here's the new wallpaper. It's just the Apple symbol with a couple different designs within it. So I'll link this in the description below if you'd like to get this as well. When it comes to iOS 26.2 features overall, I wanted to recap it quickly, as many people asked me to do this since I did this in the Beta 2 update. Many people asked me to repeat it in Beta 3. But the major feature here has to do with the lock screen and being able to customize the overall liquid glass effect. So there's now a slider for that. Maybe they'll bring that to the entire OS in the near future. Also, we have updates to things such as the animations I showed you earlier, health sleep score updates, podcast updates, news updates, live translation. CarPlay now has the option to turn off pinned contacts for messages. And Stocks has an updated look as well. So if we go into Stocks itself, it now says Top Stories. This is thanks to 9Tech11 for sending this over from X, but you'll see it says Top Stories at the bottom. So those are the major updates other than the ones I mentioned already. Also in Japan, they're going to get the option to sideload third-party app stores and apps, as well as have the option to change their search engine the first time they open Safari. So that will be available once it releases to the public. Also, there's additional changes in the code. The first one is from Aaron P613 on X. He said he found a reference in iOS 26.2 Beta 3 that implies Apple may allow users to change the function of the side button. And basically, it would allow people in the EU to replace Siri with a third-party assistant. So that's something that could be coming in the future. I would love to see that throughout the world, as I would change it to something else as well, currently anyway. Also in the public-facing release notes, if we go to their website here, scroll down, there is one new change here for HealthKit. It says hypertension notifications are now available for reading with a new API. So you can now request authorization for it in third-party apps. So that's an update that was added with Beta 3. As far as other updates today, well, there's a couple worth mentioning. If we go into the App Store here, the Sports app has been updated so that it's now available in more European countries. So let me know if it's been added where you live and what country you live in. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Also, Apple's Support app got an update, and it says performance enhancements and bug fixes introduced in version 5.11, and it says added support for iOS 26, including liquid glass, and updated the app icon with a layered design. So it's a small change, but it's been recently updated a couple hours ago. As far as bugs and bug fixes, well, the only thing I've heard of specifically so far is that Apple Feedback actually informed a beta tester that the static or noise coming from the bottom speaker was addressed in this update. However, they're still hearing it when they're plugged in charging. So let me know if you're hearing that after updating to Beta 3. There's also another bug that has to do with the Music app. For example, if you're syncing information when you're using it with iTunes, sometimes the album art doesn't appear. So if we go in and maybe go to the playlist, you'll see it works for me under playlist, but some people are just not seeing album artwork in general if they've synced from iTunes. Also, the ever-present wallpaper bug is still there, so you'll see it desaturates when I swipe home. It's less noticeable this time around, but it definitely dims a little bit. So it seems to go back and forth with the latest betas. When it comes to releases, iOS 26.1.1 is something I keep getting a question about. However, there's so far been no indication of it. However, iOS 18.1.1 released last year in between iOS 18.1 and iOS 18.2. So it's definitely possible, but so far seems unlikely as there's no mention of it anywhere. When it comes to the next beta release, iOS 26.2 Beta 4 is expected as soon as next Monday. Typically, that's what we see every year. We'll have it probably Monday or Tuesday, with maybe the RC coming out on December 1st and possibly a public release on December 8th. We don't have a specific timeline, as Apple hasn't said, but they do have to release it before the 19th to comply with the Japanese law about third-party app stores, so we can expect it before then. After that, we should see iOS 26.3 Beta 1, and that should be the last version released as far as to developers before the end of the year, and then usually Apple will resume in the second or third week of January. So maybe Beta 2 would be out in January 5th or 12th. We don't know just yet. If you're wondering if you should install iOS 26.2 Beta 3, well, if you're on Beta 2 or Beta 1, I would definitely recommend it and provide feedback as needed if you're having issues with it. Help make it a little bit better. But if you're on iOS 26.1 trying to solve an issue by going to Beta 3, I would definitely not recommend it, as typically you'll run into other bugs as well. So wait for Apple to release the public version, or at least the RC or release candidate version of iOS 26.2. When it comes to overall performance, going between the widget page and home is fixed still, from Beta 2 to Beta 3. It was fixed in Beta 2, and going over to the app library, it's nice and fast now. Scrolling through, ProMotion seems nice and smooth. In fact, I would say it's faster than it was before, just scrolling here. And then opening different apps seem to be nice and fast as well. So if we go in and maybe open the camera, of course, I do expect you to get an occasional hiccup from time to time, but after this installed, the overall phone did get quite hot overall. In fact, it's probably the hottest I've seen from the iPhone 17 Pro Max for a while. So it got quite warm. Once it settled down, things sped up nicely. When it was very hot, things did slow down. So just keep that in mind if you just installed it. When it comes to battery, let's go into settings. We'll go to battery and battery health. I'm currently at 100% capacity with 11 cycles. This is my main phone with my SIM card in it, or eSIM in it, and it's performing generally pretty well. If we go to yesterday, you'll see 2 hours and 54 minutes of screen active time, 8 hours and 32 minutes of screen idle time, using it for things such as Apple CarPlay, so 56% battery usage. The day before, 3 hours and 55 minutes. Now keep in mind, with my iPhone Air, 4 hours was typical to use 100% of the battery. So it's better, it's improving over time, but I was using the public version on that. I expect this to get better as I continue to customize it and sort of get rid of things that are using a lot of power. Now, as far as the overall storage, let's go ahead and take a look at settings here. So we'll go back to General and then iPhone Storage, and let's take a look at Beta 2 side by side with Beta 3. So if we scroll down to the bottom, you'll see iOS is taking up a couple more gigabytes at this point, so 23 gigabytes compared to 20.56 gigabytes on Beta 2. Both phones are set up identically. Apple Intelligence is taking up 9.07 gigabytes, and that's where the additional storage is coming from. So not a big deal, and again, as I've mentioned before, system data goes up and down as needed, but it's quite low on both of these betas. When it comes to overall benchmarks, I ran it 3 times just to see what we'd get, as early benchmarks sometimes can be slow. The fastest one I got was 3,848 for single core, 9,975 for multi-core. That's quite good, especially right after installing a beta, so I would expect this to increase over the next few days, and then we'll talk about it in the weekend follow-up video, of course. So that's everything so far with iOS 26.2 Beta 3. Of course, if I find more features, we'll talk about that in the weekend follow-up video, along with all the reports about battery life, performance, and more. Let me know how it's going for you in the comments below, and as I mentioned earlier, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.